Three exact steps to build passive income buying real estate without no bank. Hey, gang, this is Mike with MrNoFluff.com. And today I want to share with you the way I do it at Mr. No Fluff, where I buy passive, positive cash flow real estate without going to a bank. So I don't use banks. Now, why do I not use banks? I don't like banks. I never liked bankers. I never liked the Federal Reserve. I never liked central bankers, nor do I like inflation, nor do I like debt, nor do I like someone printing money and everyone else trades their time for this fake fiat. It's not like gold or something where it's real, it's just a printing machine. But that's a different story. Today, subject's about three exact steps to build passive income by buying real estate without no banks. Now, this strategy that I apply is totally different than anything else that other people use on YouTube or Facebooks or other places because I don't deal with the traditional path. I've created my own path, okay? Because I love nature and I don't like to follow everyone else. So, what does that mean? Well, I don't use real estate agents. That means I don't go to the bank to borrow money. That means I don't use my own credit. That means that I don't go to the foreclosure auctions to buy properties. That means I don't work the tax foreclosure auction. I don't work those systems where it's very, very simple and anyone can do it because the simpler it is, the less probability of me making money. And when I do make money, it will be very, very little because there's so much competition. So the way I buy passive income real estate without banks is because I've created my own system where I'm about to share with you. Okay. So before I pull the curtain back and explain it, I want to make sure that you understand that what I'm going to tell you is not going to sound like something that's normal because everyone else does normal and I don't do normal. For example, everyone gets into debt. I don't get into debt. Everyone likes credit cards. I don't like credit cards. So I've created through my imagination creativity ways to be my dreams without the traditional way, like write a business plan and then go borrow money from a small business association and then buy the infrastructure and then spend two or 300,000 buying the infrastructure, open your door, and then start marketing, and then you go bankrupt 9 out of 10 times because that's the statistics. I don't do that. Okay, nor do I just go to a hard money lender and say, "Hey, can I borrow some money?" or to a bank and say, "Can I borrow some money?" I don't do that. Now, what I'm going to show you right now is how to find real estate, how to get passive income the way I've done it. I'm just showing you what I've done. This is not financial advice or anything like that, but what I've done to find real estate without using a bank, without using my own money, or without using credit. Okay. Now, there's three stepping stones that I use. The very first one is the most important one. And please listen good. The very first step is the most important. And this, because people don't follow the very golden step that I'm going to explain right now, 9 out of 10 businesses in America go bankrupt. It doesn't matter if you want to be a real estate investor, you want to be a real estate agent, you want to start a restaurant, you want to start a car dealership, a hair salon, photography. It doesn't matter. Okay. 9 out of 10 businesses go bankrupt because they don't follow the golden rule, which is pay attention right now. The systems that I use to buy real estate, I don't use the MLS. I don't use traditional pools. Okay. The very first stepping stone is lead generation. Now, this is going to shock everyone because you're maybe thinking that you need to set up some type of logo or some type of LLC, or you need to go get tons of education on how to structure deals or how to negotiate or how to fill out the paperwork. But those things are important, okay? But they're not the step one in the way I do my business. The step one for me to buy passive real estate without bank is lead generation because I don't work and I don't travel the normal path. That's why it took 5 minutes to explain that to you because the normal path will have customary things you have to do. And I don't want to do customary things because when you do customary things, a lot of people make money off that. middleman, and it eliminates me making 3x, 5x, and so on. Okay. Now, lead generation is the most important part because if you can't get people to call you or knock on your door to sell you their home, then it doesn't matter what strategies you know. It doesn't matter how great you can fill out the paperwork. It doesn't matter how cool your logo or your website, your LLC, your S corporation, or all this other stuff you spend your money on. Okay, it doesn't matter because you're not going to be successful. So the way I do passive income is I don't use banks. I find leads. What are leads? I find home sellers that are motivated to sell. So my whole business is very, very niche. I don't just deal with everyone that wants to sell their home. I don't work with people that just want to sell their home. I run away from them when they say I just want to sell my home. I say, okay, bye bye. I run away. And now I have systems in place that does follow up if they call me, but that's a different story. I'm not gonna get into that. Um, but what I want to tell you is that in the business of finding houses without banks or finding passive income without credit or without borrowing from hard money or private money or bankers is to have a niche of finding motivated sellers, like exactly what I do. Now, what is a motivated seller? Well, let's quickly go off the top three or four. Divorces. 50, 60% of people in America get divorced. Well, split of divorce means split of income, especially in the society we have. It's not like the 50s or 60s where only one person works. We have two people working to buy the house to get into this debt. And if one of them splits, then guess what? They can't afford the home. And there's a lot of motivated sellers in divorces. Okay. Job loss. That's another motivation pool. People that have lost their job or they've been transferred to a different state or they've degraded their pay and there's so many. I can sit here and spend hours and hours talking about what are motivated sellers. But the point of the story is what is three exact steps to build passive income buying real estate without banks. So the very first stepping stone is lead generation and knowing who your leads are, which is the niche marketing that I do, which is hey, people that are motivated. I don't deal with unmotivated sellers. I don't put my energy or my time or my marketing or my money into unmotivated sellers. That is crazy to target people that are not interested in selling their house A at a deep discount or B they're willing to be my bank. So I use the seller. Now here's the key. I use the seller to finance me. I don't use banks. Again, I use the seller. That's why I say lead generation is the most important because you have to generate leads to find these sellers that are willing to finance you, and they're out there. Now they're not the majority; they're the minority. Just like gold, okay? There's a lot of grass out here, right? But grass is not really valuable. Yes, it's valuable because we gives us air and it's part of the ecosystem. But in the monetary sense, grass is abundant, so there is no value. But gold, you got to dig it up, you got to do all this work, and it's the minority. That's why it gives it value. Okay, same thing with sellers. These sellers are willing to sell your home at a deep discount, or the ones that are willing to be your bank. So I don't have to go to a bank. They're the minority. Therefore, my very first step, okay, to inquiring and building passive income, buying real estate without banks, without credit, is to generate leads and be excellent at it. Because if I didn't know anything, just like in the last crash, okay, 2006, when I got into real estate, I didn't know anything about real estate. Okay, my mom's is illiterate. My dad is illiterate. We're refugees to America. My dad pushed the ice cream truck. My mom cut hair. I didn't know anything about real estate. Now I had three successful businesses. I own a moving company. I had 28 people at the office working, another 28 virtually in India and Pakistan working. And that was just one company. I own a brokerage firm. I own rental houses, etc. I knew a lot about entrepreneurship, but I knew zero zitch about real estate. So but I did know about the system that I'm showing to you, which is number one, lead generation. So what I did is I generated a lot of leads, even though I didn't know anything about how to structure, how to talk, how to negotiate, how to filter, how to give offers, how to fill out the paper. I didn't know any of this stuff, but I knew that that stuff is secondary versus to lead generation because if I could never generate leads, it doesn't matter how great a negotiator, how great of a salesperson I am, how great of a paperwork pusher I am, how good of a closing I am. None of that stuff matters. The structure, should I sandwich it? Should I do a master lease? Should I subject to it? Should I create a note? Should I buy it at a deep? None of that stuff matters. Okay. Because without that person knocking on my door, I could never practice. I could never get in the batting cage and bat. So the most important thing to be able to be a good hitter is to get into the batting cage and practice. And you could never get into a batting cage if you have no one knocking on your door, which is the leads. So if you learn about everything else in the world, like structuring, negotiating, mobile, how to buy mobile houses, how to buy commercial, how to do apartments, you learn all this stuff. Hallelujah, great for you. You just made someone a lot of money, but it wasn't you. Okay, it wasn't you being your dreams. So if you want to be your dreams, it's not financial advice. You might want to mimic what I've done, which is the very first thing I ever did was generate leads, even though I didn't know shit about real estate. Now I generated a lot of leads because I had money, I had successful businesses, and I did a variety of different type of marketings. And I could get into it if you want to know more. You can join my profit sharing coaching. We meet every Saturday, so on. But most important part is lead generation. And if you don't follow this my golden rule, if you don't go research it and make up your own decision, I'm not telling you what to do, okay? But if you do your own research, you'll come to the same conclusions. If you don't generate leads and you spend all this time and energy building systems, learning, making logos, learning how to structure deals, how to negotiate sandwiches, options, all this stuff, no one ever calls you, or you're spending thousands of dollars generating leads for someone to call you, well, you're going to run out of money really, really, really quick. Because, if you don't know who your audience is and you're just like doing mail outs, like the yellow letters, bandit signs, and guess what? You're going to go out of money real quick and out of business. As a real estate agent, as a real estate investor, or as any other entrepreneur, you want to start a business, you want to start a moving company, mortgage, whatever. Leads is the most important thing. Okay. So let's now, why did I spend so much time in the number one? Because without this, you're never going to be successful. I don't care what business you want to get into, especially real estate. Without leads, you're never going to be successful. And end the story, dude. I don't care how much education you may have. Okay. I get so many people that call me up and like, man, I'm a veteran, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're a veteran, but you don't have enough leads, and now you're starving. So the most important thing is lead generation. Okay. Now, what is once the people start calling you, say, look, man, I want to sell my home, Mike. Then the next step, now pay quick attention to this, is what I call conversion or the closing. Okay. Now that's the next step. So if no one's knocking on my door, like when I started in 2006, fourth quarter in real estate, and I started in 2006, fourth quarter because I saw the sign of the market about to be melted down. And I was like, man, real estate is going to be a really good thing. And I'll have such low amount of time to get into it, to learn about it. So I didn't spend all my time to learn about all these strategies like everyone else does. How to fill out paperwork. This is no, because I knew that those were like steps ahead. So at first, I got to get step one. This is why I call stepping stone. Leads need to come in. When they're knocking on my door, I pick up the phone. Now I got to figure step number two. Why even think about step number two or step number three when no one's even knocking on my door? And that's why many businesses run into problems because they'll go and get into debt. They'll buy the infrastructure for their business, like if they open a restaurant, they get the ovens, they get the seats, they get all TVs, they get all the stuff, but they never have the customers. That's why they go belly up. It's better to have the customers first, and then they have a demand for your food or whatever. You're making it out of your kitchen of your home, whatever, right? And then there's a lot of people showing up, being like, "Shit, man, I'm blowing up. Let me take my operation from my kitchen into a smaller 500 square foot restaurant, and then from there, but you're still blowing up because the marketing is good, the food is good. Then you could take it up. But the food doesn't have to be good. It's just your systems, just like everyone knows about McDonald's, shitty burgers, unhealthy. However, a lot of locations. Okay. So lead generation is number one. Now, the the number two is exact step to have buy passive income real estate without banks is now learning how to structure the deals, learning how to filter, learning how to talk to sellers, learning how to negotiate, and that's what I call the conversion. Okay, the conversion or the closing step. Now, this is a very important part. Now, this makes sense to go learn about, you know, uh, for example, how to subject twos and lease options and master leases and yalla yalla whatever, right? But if you go and learn about all that stuff before, no one ever knocks on your door. You'll be highly educated, but with no success. Okay, so if you if you go do step number one, which is lead generate, and you don't like it, then you could quit at this time, right? Not what I'm saying, but many people will. And now you haven't spent thousands of dollars, learning in your education, like, like just college. Like you go to college, spend thousands, and you come out and you don't work in the degree that you get your stuff in because you know, there's no jobs or the job's not paying enough, somewhere else paying. So you don't want to do like college. So the opposite is to generate leads. If you're not good at leads, then you might want to quit and you're ahead. You're not in thousands of dollars in website development, thousands of dollars in education, thousands of dollars in legal fees, thousands of dollars in, you know, software, IT. I mean, so many different stuff, marketing. So if you never generate leads, you just save yourself a lot of money. Now, if you happen to generate leads, then the next step is to learn how to close the deals, or what I call conversion. Now you might want to seek for information. That's what I did. At that time, I went, okay, when the seller calls, what should I tell them? What should I ask them? When should I go to their house? Okay, when I get to their house, how should I look at the property and come up with the estimate of repairs and stuff like that? I didn't go do that up front because what if no one ever knocked on my door? For example, majority of the courses I created, I've done what's called pre-launches. Like I sold them before I even had the product. And the reason I did that is I don't want to spend all the time and energy creating this great idea in my brain, a product that thinks it's going to help you guys, and you guys don't even want it, right? That would be stupid. That's the same thing that happens to all these business owners. They get into debt, they buy the infrastructure, they set up their shop, and no one wants their product or services, and they go bankrupt. Okay, so that's the key of success is to let your market tell you if this is good. That's why as someone that's created software since 1999, I always created a software and toured it up because there's always bugs in it, and I just want to test it out, see if it was even good before we spend years developing it even further. Okay, so if you're an entrepreneur, remember always don't make the product first. You want to see if there's a demand for it before you make the product or make the service or get into debt by getting all the infrastructure to service the product. Okay. That's just the way I've been doing it since I've been in high school, never had a job, never had a resume, never borrowed from a credit card, never borrowed debt. And I had multiple businesses, successful businesses of 14, 15 years, debt free, has made me millions of dollars. As a refugee that came and spelled it right, my dad is an ice cream truck driver, illiterate. Same with my mom. I'm not disrespecting them. They're very, very smart. I put them against any PhD or even masters, and my parents will outperform them. They come here as refugees. They'll speak the language. They have their business. They have their house paid off. They've done great for themselves as illiterate people. Where I know people with college degrees collecting from Uncle Sam, the free cheese, and so I'm not putting them down. I'm just letting you know that, hey, you may have disabilities in your life, right? They might not be just like mine, but you may have disabilities and you think you can do X, you can do Y. If you allow those disabilities, you focus on those disabilities, and guess what? That's what's going to happen. But if you don't focus on that disability and you focus on your dreams, then you can be it, dude. America's a great country. That's why everyone wants to come here. A lot of us are already here. We're not taking charge of it. We're just working for the man. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with working for the man. But if you want to be your dreams, then you can't work for the man. The man don't allow you to be your dreams, man. The man is being his dreams. You're working his dreams. But that's a different story, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get to step number three. Okay. So we talked about step number one to get passive income um, by buying real estate without banks, which is lead generation. Number two, once the leads start knocking, what did I do? What I did is I went and learned how to do the strategies, how to filter, how to talk to them, how to give offers. Okay. Now, once I got the deal, what is the next strategy? Exit. Okay, what am I going to do with this deal? It's very, very important. Okay. Now, when I look at the exit strategy, okay, I'm doing it before I buy the deal. I'm not doing it after. And I'm looking at it as both directions. Like, what happens if the market stays the same or goes up? And what am I going to do if the market tanks? So I'm not buying it thinking, oh, it's going to be gravy. No, I'm buying it like, hey, what is the worst thing that can happen? And then if I'm cool with the worst thing that can happen, then everything else is cherry on the top, which is probability of happening up here versus down here. But I always look at it at the worst case scenario. So exit strategy is very important. Now, let me give you a real world example of like a deal that I've done. Okay, when I first got started. Okay, I did marketing. A home seller called me. They were going to a divorce. The guy was a public house worker. Okay, they were going to a divorce. They were behind three payments, and I just told them, "Hey, buddy, I could save your credit." The wife had already moved out. He was the house was in immaculate shape. They had put improvements in the property. They like put a pool in there. They had done the flooring, and so the home did not need any work, not even cosmetic. It was like great shape. It was a very newer home, and they lived in there for like 6 7 years. They paid off a lot of the interest and the amortization part, and they were just behind three payments. I told them, look, dude, why don't I pay your three payments behind? Okay, which is like roughly like less than $3,000 or something. And why don't I give you a free move? I owned a movie company. It didn't cost me anything, very little, like $50 to $60 to send my crew out there and move him because he really didn't have anything. The wife had taken everything. And I said, hey, let me just pay for your closing, which wasn't that much, like $750 or something like that, or $1,500, somewhere around there. And let me make the back payments. Let me give you a move that cost me hardly anything because I own a moving company, and I'll just step into your shoes and buy the house. So I did lead generation. The seller came in. I did conversion or closing, and that's where I negotiated. I give them the offer, okay. And then my exit strategy was that, hey, in this house, I'm gonna move into it, or I'm gonna rent it out, and I wasn't gonna turn around and do fix and flip because I don't do fix and flips, and I'm a buy and hold passive income guy, a landlord. So my strategy is like, hey, every property that I buy in nice areas where I could live into it. So I'm always looking at worst case scenario. Can I live into this property? Check. Yes. Okay. Can I rent the sucker out and get positive cash flow for the next 6 to 10 years? Yes. Can I instantly create a new note and do owner financing where I could get from someone 10, 20, 30 grand down and then wrap it? Yes. So I was like, hey, this is a great property. So what I did is I did step one, I did the marketing. Step two, seller called. We did the closing a conversion. And then step three, I rented the property out for 6 7 years, almost like 7 years. And then I sold it and I got great passive income for that whole time. And I sold it and made over $100,000 in equity cash out, plus the 6 7 years of passive income. You add that up, significant amount of money, and I was only in the property, like I would say $3,000, $4,000, no more. Okay, so that's great. I didn't have to go to a bank. I never went to a bank. I never went to a hard money lender. I didn't have to go to friends and family say, "Hey, man, you want to get on this deal?" I never had to syndicate money. I didn't have to do that because A, I don't like to beg anyone for any money. I like to just tighten my own pants, which allows me to be more creative because I don't want a safety rope. I don't want to use other people's money. You know what I mean? I like to be a free man. I don't want to have to answer to anyone, and I don't want to answer to bankers. I don't want to answer to investors. I don't care about that. So what I did is I just used my own money. And now, if I didn't have the money, let's say I didn't have that 4 grand, then I could have went and did other stuff. I could have wholesale the deal. Like I could have different exit strategies. So my exit strategies was just, can I live in the property? Check. Can I rent it out and have massive cash flow? Check. And can I do instantly create a new note and owner finance it? Check. So I had three exit strategies for me because at that time I had three businesses. And just want a rental property. So those are the three options that I look for exit strategies. Doesn't matter if the economy went up, doesn't matter if the economy went sideways, doesn't matter if the economy came down. I could have done that in all three situations. And so this is exactly the three steps that I use to build passive income buying real estate with no banks, with no credit, with no hard money lending, without using credit cards. And I didn't get into debt. I let the seller finance me. And what we did is, well, what I left to do is create a non-recourse loan that says, look, because whenever I deal with banks, which is never, but from studying it, two things happens when you borrow a debt from, a mortgage from a bank is they're gonna have you sign what's called a promissory note, right? Which basically puts your neck on the line that if you ever default, they're gonna chop that shit off and come get you, right? And then the second thing is you're gonna have to sign what's called a DOT, deed of trust, which basically says, look, Mr. Banker, not only can you guillotine my fucking head, but you could also take back the collateral, the debt, that house. Say so like I don't want that. I mean, that doesn't sound too fair. They take the collateral and they guillotine me? Are you crazy? I mean, that doesn't make any freaking fucking sense. So when I negotiate with home sellers, I don't sign promissory note. I do what's called non-recourse loan. If you want more information about how to structure those deals, definitely join me every Saturday where I teach you how to find deals in your backyard using my strategies on what I've done, where you can structure these non-recourse loans called in my profit sharing coaching. Okay. How do you get there? Profitsharing.mrnofluff.com. Okay. All right. So why do I like non-recourse loans? Because I don't have to put my neck on the line. I tell the seller up front, look, dude, I'm gonna take over your payments like this deal, but I'm gonna take it over, and if I default, you could just take the house back, right? So the back payments that I made and all the improvements I may have done to the property, you can take the house back. However, if I default, you can't come after me personally because I'm not going to personally be reliable for this debt. I mean, I didn't know if you guys just missed what I just said, right? But I tell the seller, and we go to closing, them knowing that I'm not putting my social up, I'm not putting my company EIN number up, I'm not going to be personally reliable for this debt. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to perform or I want to do something bad. No, because hey, if I give the guy $3,000 to make the back payments, I pay his closing, let's say 700 to 1,500 bucks. Shit, I have skin in the game. I have my own money in here, and I'm gonna do everything I can to cash this out because I make my money when I cash it out. But what happens if I get in a wreck and I can't work or my foot gets cut off? I'm just giving you a simple example on like not realistically, right? Well, then the seller has a remedy to take the property and any equity I built in there. They could take that, right? But why should they have to come after me and my other collaterals or other assets that I have? I don't want to do that. And the seller's not cool with that. No problem, dude. I just go to the next seller because I know how to generate leads. I know who my audience is, and there's multiple people out there, and I only have certain amount of money. I can't do every deal under the moons and the stars, nor do I have the money to do every deals, and that's fine. I'll deal with someone that wants to work with me on my terms, okay? And that's what I do. If the seller doesn't want it, no disrespect, there's other people out there, but they should work with me because I have a stable business. I have a brokerage firm. I have rental properties, and I do what I say, and that's why they should work with me. And if they want to work with someone else, hallelujah, I don't have a problem with that. Okay, so I'm not a desperate situation, and that's why I teach my students is lead generation is number one. Okay, that's why I said that's step because if you have a lot of leads, you have 10 sellers, you only have money to buy two, right? Well, you could cherry pick whatever deal you want. But if you have all this education, you just spend 10 grand in school and $3,000 to set in your LLC, and then you set in your website and your IT, and you have your CMS software you got to pay for. You have this other website you got to pay for. You got this other website you got to pay for all the software. Then see, one person calls you, like, please do the deal, and you're willing to give them more money because you got to want to do this deal. Okay, so to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen, is the three exact steps that I use to buy passive income in real estate with no money, no credit, and no bankers for sure. Okay, is that I do lead generation, the most important thing. Two is called the conversion or closing, and three, the exit strategy. And that's the simplified version of real estate investing. Now, real estate investing is very, 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 very complex. You can learn the rest of your life. You can get a PhD and then get another PhD. Okay, uh, but if I believe that taking complex ideas and making them very simple is the key for success. And that doesn't mean that it's not a complex business. No, it means it's a very complex business. But if you know what the three stepping stones are, boom, 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 then your odds of success significant because you know the roadmap. What step I am right now. If I'm only in step one, no one's knocking on my door. Maybe it's not wise for me to put 10 grand to go to a seminar or 3 grand to learn about all this stuff. Then it might not be wise to go step number three and learn about exit strategies. How should I exit the property when I don't have no one knocking on my door? Okay. It may be wiser to have people knocking on your door and then learn about how to structure, how to close. And then once you got a deal, learn about the exit strategy. Or when you're about to get a deal, learn about exit strategy. Not financial advice, just the way I've been doing it. I've been my dream since high school, never had a real job, never had a real resume, never borrowed money from a credit card company or a banker to be my dreams. And this is exactly the step-by-step stuff that I've used, which is lead generation. When I started my moving company, I didn't even have the equipment. Okay. I started generating leads. When the leads came in, I went and rent a truck. And then from there, I went and bought the equipment because my customers paid the way. Okay. When I started Mr. No Fluff, I sold products pre-hand, and when people ordered, then I made the product. If people didn't order, guess what? I didn't have to spend any time and energy making the product. So the most important thing is making the leads. That'll tell you if there's demand before you invest your time and energy in something. And if you can't generate leads, it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means you're just not good at generating leads, and you might just stick with your job, because if you can't generate leads, there's no other way to do it besides be a pushy salesperson. And I hate sales. I think it's evil. I just did a video about that, ladies and gentlemen. So do me a favor, click the like button, and let me ask you, have you done your very first real estate deal? And if not, why not? And if you have, please share with me your experiences. I love to read about it, because it not only motivates me, but also motivates the community. All right, guys, jab the like button and go ahead and uppercut and share the message. And thanks for watching. And remember, you don't need a prerequisite to be your dreams. You're already it. You live in this beautiful world that's right. Everything's there, abundance. But the bankers, the media, the propaganda, the big corporation makes it seem like you're not enough. You're not tall enough. You're not short enough. You don't smell good enough. You don't have enough education. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough credit score to be your dreams. And I'm here to tell you, you're already it. You just got to believe in yourself. That's it. That's the hardest part, to believe in yourself. Once you believe in yourself and you take step, you have more courage, you have more confidence to believe in yourself more. So that's why I always say, start where you stand. Doesn't matter where you are.